Okay, I'm starting our meeting. Welcome everyone to a special meeting of the Hollister City Council. Today is February 9th at 6 o'clock. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Resendez,
Here.
Councilmember Morales,
Here.
and Mayor Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Pache and Vice Mayor Deanna are not present. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we established a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and move forward. Councilmember Morales, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Okay, thank you for that. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into our council business. So we have our first item is a presentation on environmental compliance frameworks and council's next steps. So can we get a staff report, please?
Indeed. So, Madam Clerk, can we see the PowerPoint presentation? And I apologize, just the quickness of our response. I was not able to finish the PowerPoint in time to be part of the packet, but we do have it. And so, first of all, council members, thank you so much. Madam Mayor, thank you so much for the special session. Today is my first week anniversary, and so I'm beginning to try to execute some of the transparency measures that I have adopted in previous appointments in other cities. And one of them deals with environmental issues and well-being. Anything that pertains to the well-being of our community is important. And for that reason, I have a rule of thumb. If we have one issue, I pick up the phone and I talk to each of you. If we have two issues, then my recommendation is to host a space such as this tonight. The reason why I like that approach is two things. Number one is that is the best way in which we can demonstrate the level of urgency and the fact that we are interested in the well-being of all our communities, not just certain parts of the community. And two, because we also want to start changing a little bit of the culture as far as how we respond to quality of life issues. So that was the context for the special session. And what we want to do is two things. We want to talk to you about the wastewater treatment plant and the odor to give you an update. And we have some updates even from the time that the PowerPoint was created. Oh, okay. That's right.
I didn't know what was doing.
Thank you. So I just go like this. Oh, yes. Wonderful. Excellent. And so, and the second issue that we want to address is water quality. So let me start with the first. Notice that our presentation is in both languages. So every time that I've gone to the ATM or to use any public or private facility in the city of Hollister, I have noticed that everything is bilingual. So we will start to make sure that we reflect that in our communications. So we start with the domestic water treatment, wastewater treatment plant, and the smells. We talked about it a week ago. So we told you that we would bring additional aerators, but we have good news, and I'm going to let the Director of Public Works give you the good news.
We have implemented one of the aerators. Two of them got delivered. One of them still needing a cover as a part of it, but one of them has been put in place today as of this afternoon.
So again, a week ago, we told you that there will be progress. Today, we demonstrate that there is progress. The chopper pumps and the inside treatment will be introduced really in a few weeks in mid-February. We're almost in mid-February. Odor will continue through February and early March. Saturday, I drove by that area and I parked And it was unacceptable. It was truly not okay. And I was just driving. So for the residents who are in this area, I have to apologize. We can come up with all the reasonings as to why this is the case, but I think somewhere, as the new city manager, I would like to apologize to the community for what they're going through right now. As far as moving forward, because apologies are nice, but it doesn't, what is it? Say sorry doesn't make it right, is we want to make sure that we work closely with our contractor to make sure that we're on top of the maintenance. The issues that we have are due to lack of monitoring from both the contractor and us, so we will be accountable for moving forward. At the dais, you have two documents. One is the letter that we have sent to the community, Director Hernandez sent to the community per our regulatory agency. The second letter is one that I intend to send as the new city manager. Similar information, slightly different approach, but just to give you a sense on how we would like to move forward when we communicate with the community. My rule of thumb is anybody that is in our local high school should be able to know exactly what's going on in the city, have an opinion about it, and hopefully communicate with us about it. And so this is an effort to do that. As far as what's being done, so I would let Director Hernandez tell you the specifics.
Sure. So I think we covered this a little bit on Monday, but with the, it's a work in progress as we stand. So in the headworks, we still have the rain for rent equipment there, which is going to remain in place until the pumps are installed, because the pumps will serve the purpose of that temporary rain for rent equipment that is there. The supplemental aerators, which will assist in aerating and providing oxygen to speed up the process there at the pond. One's been installed today. The other one will be another significant. They're 20 horsepower aerators, so they're oversized aerators. The other one's going to be installed, I was told, no later than Wednesday. So they actually were able to get delivery on them a little bit earlier. As for enzyme treatment, again, we were tracking by the end of the week. I was just told that the delivery of the enzyme and the implementation of that will happen tomorrow. So our vendor, our contractor is hearing us, and they are being responsive to our demands. Again, the chopper pumps, what they do is they just, they assist in the headworks, right? So what they do is they take all the influent that's coming in and basically chop it down to a level or a degree of size that our treatment system can efficiently process. Which prevents clogging, wear and tear on the equipment. So these are pumps that were due for replacement. The initial design didn't call for chopper pumps, so this is a lateral but yet better replacement that was there before. And again, the last bullet point on here is that we are moving forward, as our city manager said here, we are moving forward with implementing a lot of these needed upgrades to the system.
So before I jump into the water quality issue, any questions? Even if it's the same questions you asked last week, I think it's imperative for us to understand that members of the public may be watching this meeting, or later they will watch it. Whatever questions you have, chances are the community has as well.
Okay. Do you have a question? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. So you said that it's due to maintenance. In 2023, the city mayor and the city council at that time upgraded 2 parts. Those parts, from my understanding, were to increase capacity. They were the membranes. Is that correct?
The membranes are process within the treatment that is necessary to remove the fines. It's not necessarily they're necessary for the capacity that's there, but they're not necessarily needed to add capacity. So we have 4 cartridges. 2 of them got replaced a couple years ago. So those are, I think, is what you're referring to.
Right.
So they were already in place. They were just not performing at an optimal condition because of maintenance, right? So they had lived their life. So it was a replacement of existing like for like.
Right. And what I was told at that time was it was to bring in more sewer capacity from outside of the city limits. I know you weren't here at the time, but what do you know about that?
Yeah, I cannot answer the question whether that was the driver behind that. All I can answer is that they were replaced like for like, so the capacity on the system maintained its effectiveness. And actually, it was a maintenance improvement. It wasn't a capacity improvement.
Okay.
So, Councilmember, one of the actions that we're taking in preparation for our next regular update is we are looking at the master plan for wastewater so that we can have a better understanding of what was supposed to happen, what didn't happen, and also share with you the philosophy behind the water master plan, because in many ways that is the policy framework that we have used in being both of us new, and members of the council also being new, that it makes sense for us to focus that and maybe have a study session on that topic. I understand that there's been some communication with the city in the past about maintenance. We've had some members of the community who have been very proactive at sharing that with us. So we have to investigate what maintenance was deferred versus ignored versus prioritized. So we probably can come back to you with a study session, robust conversation on those topics.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I was here, and I remember very clearly that we were told that we were at capacity. They were considering bringing in sewer water from outside of the city limits. Gavilan College, Cielo Vista, the San Juan Oaks, San Juan Bautista, and in order to do that, they had to upgrade the membranes. They had to bring in the 2 membranes. So that was the rationale that was given to us at that time. I voted against it because of the smell. We had hundreds of people coming down here and protesting, asking us to do the studies and investigate why the smell was going on. However, they were ignored by the mayor at that time and the council at that time, and they bought the membranes to increase capacity. This was in 2023. You said at the last meeting, the last time sludge was removed. Let's talk about sludge a little bit. It was in 2022, right?
Correct.
Okay. So before that, sludge was removed very regularly at the domestic treatment plant. My understanding is that if the sludge is building up, now we're talking about a layer of sludge on the bottom of the sewer, it's going to decrease capacity, would it not?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
All right. So if we have a layer of sludge that is building up in the sewer ponds, and we had a mayor and a council who only bought 2 membranes to bring in more sewer from outside the city limits, sounds like it could be a problem without you addressing the sludge. I'm not saying it's you per se, but the sludge should have been taken out first.
No, that is correct. It does have an impact on capacity, so that's part of the assessment that we're conducting right now. The problem that brought this to the surface is the smell. But there is a much larger problem as far as the infrastructure that's there, the maintenance of that infrastructure, the performance of our contractor, and our own management. So it's a multi-layer problem. We know about the smell because we smell it. The other things are things that we need to uncover.
Okay, well, I did a little bit of research too. So in my research, I uncovered that sludge can help to break the existing infrastructure even faster if it's not addressed.
Okay.
Is that true?
All components of a treatment plant play a part in wear and tear. So you're technically correct.
Yes.
Thank you. So my understanding, just so I'm correct, what we have is a maintenance problem. What I'm hearing is that the sewer capacity was expanded by the previous mayor, the previous council, to bring in more sewer from outside the city limits. However, all the other issues, including the sludge removal, were never maintained or taken care of.
We're late in our sludge removal, yes. Was the capacity expanded? I would like to come back with a solid answer on that. It's, from what you're saying, sounds like we did.
Yep.
But let us take a look.
So let
and
me
see.
rephrase that. Was San Juan Sewer, the city of San Juan Sewer, added to the city of Hollister between that time and where we're at now?
Yes, it was added last year.
Great. So the capacity was,
Councilman, not necessarily. It's entirely possible that we had capacity, which is why we allowed it. That's one scenario. Another scenario is no, indeed, we did expand it. We don't know.
okay, perfect. I appreciate that. So let's talk about the infrastructure. 3 pumps, Javier, that's what we have?
Correct.
How many are functioning properly out of those 3?
They've all lived their life.
They've all failed.
They're not completely failed, but they're
Sure.
in certain levels.
Right.
Of
So
disrepair.
now you have temporary pumps out there helping with that?
No, those pumps are still functional. They just
Okay.
have to get restarted. They have to get primed is the term that they use to get them going. So it's a lot of manual effort to make sure
Okay.
that they're operating.
I'm assuming that we're planning on replacing those pumps.
Correct. One's
Right.
been ordered and the other 2 will be at the February 17th
Okay,
council
good.
meeting.
Good. I was going to say, I think we need to expedite and get all 3 up to par. Aerators. We had 9 aerators out there.
Initially, as part of the initial design.
Right.
And let me correct myself. I believe it was eight aerators that were
Thank
in
you.
the- in the
Okay,
design.
and so just so the public knows, and so the aerators are surface level aerators. They are on top of the ponds, and what they do is they circulate the oxygen within the sewer ponds so that the sewer does not become anaerobic, aka septic.
Correct.
Thank you. And how many of those aerators were currently functioning?
Right now, we have 2 at sometimes 3 aerators.
Got it. So the aerators went kaput, and we need new aerators. And you said you're ordering new aerators?
They have put the order in for the replacement aerators to bring it back to optimal design condition. Those have a lead time, so they have started the process of bringing aerators from a different plant up in the Bay Area.
Okay. Chopper pumps. The chopper pumps, I'm assuming, deals with the solids.
It's the first level of contact to our influent flow.
Did we have chopper pumps before?
We did not.
Okay. So we should have chopper pumps there to help break down the solids so that we can better process the.
Correct.
Thank you. And you've got how many now?
Pumps?
Ordering.
Choppers, pumps.
All,
Sorry.
all 3 that are going to be replaced, they're all going to be replaced with chopper pumps.
Beautiful. Additional upgrades. We need to get the sludge out. We can't get all this new equipment there just to have years and years of sludge that is going to, I would say, break down the existing infrastructure more rapidly. That's what I found in my research. So we have to expedite getting the sludge removed. And then we talked about this at the last meeting. From my experience, the one quote that you gave me was, I think, $2.7 million for sludge removal, and that was of a time span of, do you remember how long, Mr. Hernandez?
It was 2022.
So, and then what was the previous time before that we removed the sludge? Do you remember?
It's typically removed in a 5 to 7 year cycle.
Okay, all right.
There.
So we're looking at another 3 mil
Correct.
upwards to get the sludge out.
Correct.
What's the plan to get the sludge out?
So as of this morning, we have scheduled a meeting with our consultant, Veolia, who is running the plant. And as Mr. Hernandez indicated, we are at that time to implement sludge removal. We believe that we do have the funds. I need to check with finance to make sure that is the case, and then we need to proceed. We don't want to make a bad situation worse.
Got it.
So we are taking the next steps.
There's a code, the memory, it slips my memory what the code was, but there's also a city code that was brought up by the ex-mayor, Mia Casey, and she said that code allows for 2 things. Number 1, to expand the infrastructure to bring in more sewer capacity and to maintain existing infrastructure. Well, the first thing was done, right? So she used that money, those millions of dollars, to expand, to bring in more sewer from outside the city limits, never maintained because none of this other stuff was done. She forgot to mention, I pointed it out then, there's also a third thing that we can do with that funds. The third thing that we can do, because I checked with the city attorneys, was to pay down the debt of the sewer. Are you aware of that? And if not, that's okay.
Yes, no, any enterprise fund, I mean, as long as you spend the money within the enterprise, it's okay. So if the policy direction from the council is, let's be aggressive with paying our debt, I'm perfectly happy with that.
Perfect. So again, Mayor Mia Casey and the old council lied and said that you could not, she said you can expand or maintain. She failed to mention, she lied by omission, it's in a Bonito Link article, that you can take that money to lower the initial debt, and that would in turn lower the sewer bill for the citizens of Hollister.
Council members, so Madam Clerk, if you would be so kind to add so that we can have a vote, you giving me direction on an aggressive payment of our debt. We can bring the numbers to you. You can see what's in the debt. You can see what interest rate we're paying. For example, if the interest rate is 0, I would recommend not paying the debt, but I don't have those facts. So we will bring this item back to you so that you can give us policy direction.
Perfect.
And that's
But-
consistent with an enterprise fund.
Perfect. Here's my concern, City Manager.
Sure.
We've spent $2 million to expand the infrastructure to bring in more sewer. We've never spent money to maintain it. I don't know if we're going to have the money now because of all of the equipment's failing to do that. I'm open to it, but I think we need to address these other concerns first.
100%. So during that study session, we will give you all the elements behind this particular operation. That's the only way you can make good policy is by us giving you all the data.
Thanks. And then my other concern that I had brought up is that we were told by the ex-mayor, Mia Casey, that environmental studies were going to be done. They were looped in. That was her language. They were looped in. Where are the environmental studies? We never got environmental studies from anybody.
For the
Sewer
plant?
main break, for the
Okay.
smell, for testing the soil, testing the water at the river. We've got people who reside next to the sewer.
Okay.
Are they being exposed to environmental hazards? Do we have that information like the mayor had stated back then?
We will find it.
We
So
never got it.
I don't know, council member, but I
Yeah.
mean, clearly, that is one of the reasons why we're having these types of meetings.
Yeah.
Now it behooves us to make sure that we have a third party telling us, a third party of subject matter experts, telling us that it is okay.
Thank you.
So we'll have to find that information if it exists.
I
And
appreciate
if it
that.
doesn't, then we need to commission it.
That's how you get. I'll wrap it up in just a minute. My other concern was the email that you said that the mayor received at that time.
Correct. So we have been doing research on this very important issue, and there is communication, basically giving us the heads up that things could go wrong, that maintenance was needed, and so on. So we are having some difficult conversations with our contractor. We actually just before this meeting, I indicated that from my point of view, they're this close from losing this contract. There are reasons why we haven't pulled the plug, but this close.
Okay. Just to reference that
Okay.
email really quick.
Yeah, okay, because I want to give others a chance to also.
Of course.
Okay, go ahead.
I can provide that information to the council. That's, it's all public information.
I'd like to see the email, and I'd like for the public to have access to that email. Apparently, there was a city staff member, an ex-city staff member, who let the mayor at the time know that this was going to happen. And what did she do in return? She did not address it. She had the attorneys shut him up. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Boucher, any questions?
I would just like answers to Councilmember Resendez's questions. So,
Okay, so those will
I'm
be
support
followed up
that.
and we'll, okay. Okay, let me check on this side. Councilmember Morales, do you have any comments or questions? Go ahead.
No, thank you, Anna. I think I really appreciate the fact that you said, we have an issue. We need to apologize to the members of our community because they're dealing with this right now. We know the vendor did not do their job. We did not do our job. I think I think it's really important for, Javier and yourself to go back to the tapes, go back through the communication with staff, because a lot of people are gone. And at the end of the day, it's really up to us right now. What are we doing right now, and how do we move forward? From a policy perspective, you're absolutely right. We
I'm
really
concerned. Do
need-
you have a question?
Yeah, Councilmember Resendez, let's let her, I gave you lots of time to speak.
I just want to know what her question is.
Yeah, but it's okay. Let's just let her have her time. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you. So I know several questions were made. I'm just very concerned that the narrative that's being asked, or the perception, is not accurate. And so my recollection was, staff came to us and said, our equipment's not functioning. We've had this issue before with the sludge. We know that it was because, not saying it publicly, we knew what the issues were. We know some of the issues were ours. We addressed it at the time, but we knew that we were gonna have issues with staff leaving. We knew that there was gonna be the maintenance issues. So there's things that we knew that were gonna happen that led to this. And because of a lot of the staff changes, we're here now. So I really appreciate the fact that you're saying we're here now, and here's what we're doing moving forward, because you're right. We just can't say, I'm sorry. We have to say, we're sorry, and here's how quickly we're gonna fix it. And then this is how we're informing the community of the impact, in addition to, this is how long it's gonna take to implement a change. And I would just ask that a study session be provided with the accurate information and a review of the tapes, because the tapes are very clear in terms of staff's report, and the report in terms of why things need to be, the equipment needed to be updated. So thank you for the updates and the feedback and the due diligence and informing our community and moving on getting the equipment done, because at the end of the day, it's all about action.
Mayor, can I
Okay,
ask you a
thank you.
question?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna just ask you to hold on just for a second. Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor, do you have any comments or questions? Go ahead.
Hello, just to sum it up in just a nice bow, just put a nice bow on it. So the faulty aging infrastructure is what could cause, well, one of the things that could cause the chromium, right, to be in our drinking water. Is that?
Not
No,
yet. We're
not yet.
still with sewer. We haven't
Okay.
gone to water
Oh my-
just
okay,
yet.
okay, then I'll hold off then.
Okay.
That was my question, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, it's a valid thing. I mean, I think that there is some questions from our public that they're interrelated, right? So we want to make sure that we are giving the accurate information, especially like ensuring that we know that if there's concern that they're interrelated, that we're clarifying whether they are or whether they're not. So I think, thank you for asking that question, and then we'll get that more information later. Okay, so I'm going to ask a few questions, and then I will recognize you, Councilmember Resendez. Thank you for your patience. First of all, can I just say, fully so appreciate the format of the Spanish English. I mean, we know that there are multiple languages that are spoken, but the primary second language, especially in community like Hollister, is Spanish. So I fully appreciate that. So thank you so much for that, city manager and our director. I think it's going to be so important if we can accomplish solving this problem, number one, so that we are ensuring the health and safety of our community, but also being super transparent and getting the message out. I think we will have been successful in this. So let's continue in that vein. So thank you so much for that to both of you. So thank you for the information about the equipment. I appreciate the information about the aerators and the chopper pumps. I want to ask Mr. Hernandez, is there another technology that is used in terms of the removal, and then how we can prevent this? And what my question is kind of alluding to is that there is some information that I learned about in some of my research and asking questions about the way that it's removed is important. So we remove it in different ways, but if we can remove it in a way that makes it the simplest, which is the information that I received, is when it's dry. So there's a way to dry it out then it's easier to remove. Can you talk a little bit about what that technology is and if that's something that we want to consider? And if it's not something that you're ready to answer tonight, I'm okay with having that put off till the next meeting. But can you talk a little bit about that? Because at the end of the day, it sounds like the bottom line is it's the removal that created this issue. The fact that our machinery, our equipment malfunctioned because it's aging, it was neglected, then the removal was not possible. It was, I'm going to assume clogging the system, or it just wasn't functioning properly. It was maybe overburdened because there was too much buildup of the sludge. Anyway, it sounds like the removal is the key in this effort to solve this problem. Please, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, if that's not the bottom line issue. And then secondly, is there another way through, for example, changing the way that the sludge is from moist to dry, that if that's something that we want to consider?
Yeah, I think that those are two different components that you're speaking of. So I just want clarification first, because there is solid removal at the headworks as well. And so that's what we currently have Rain for Rent out there doing. So that is the stuff that's coming into the plant. So it's important that we capture the solids, rags, shirts. I mean, they find all types of stuff before it enters the plant. So currently, under its current conditions, we are deficient there. That's why Rain for Rent is there.
Okay.
And so these chopper pumps are gonna enhance the chopping ability of the influent that's coming in.
Okay.
So that being said, that stuff is removed dry, if that's what you're referring to.
Okay.
At the back end right now, what we do
Okay.
is we do pull the sludge out with it, but that's a process that's done while there's water in the basin, and then it gets put out to dry and then removed off of that. So it's the unfortunate part with that is that it's really costly. There's only a couple contractors, a couple vendors. We're already pursuing prices, and they set the market. Like honestly, it's hard to find these contractors, and we are actively requesting quotes for the sludge removal.
Okay. With that, thank you for that. With that, then my follow-up question is, why do we do this every 3 years, 3 to 5 years? Why do we not do it more frequently so that we don't accumulate so much? Because going back to the point that Councilmember Resendez made about capacity, ultimately, if we manage the capacity so that it doesn't get, that the level of sludge doesn't get so thick, then it seems like it's more manageable, and that's the way to prevent the issue with the odor, as well as any other, like what could be an environmental issue and maybe health and safety concerns for our residents. Why the 3 to 5 years? Why isn't it possible to do it quicker? And if this other technology is so costly, then what else can we do if in the event that we want to do this more frequently? So can you just speak to that? That just seems like a very long time, but let me know. I just want to learn more about that.
So it's all economics. I mean, can it get removed in shorter time frames? Of course it can. The expensive part is mobilizing a contractor. So they have to bring in a piece of equipment, a dredge, to actually perform the work. And so it's costly in the mobilization and the framework of having a contractor there to do the work. Can it be done on a shorter time frame? Yes, but you're gonna pay for that mobilization every single time, for the labor every single time. So will you cut down the $3 million it costs to remove sludge? Yeah, you're probably gonna go down to, if you do it 3 to 5 years, maybe it's 2 million, but you're paying that much more. So it's economics. It's just that's the time frame that's most economical, I'm sure, at the time of design.
Is that a way to prevent, though? Is that a way to prevent the odor? It is not.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead.
if I could. So as our Public Works Director indicated, it comes down to administrative reasons because it is expensive. So in cities, we tend to wait about 5 years. Some cities wait up to 10 years, but 5 years or so to remove it. The problem that we have right now we've said it's maintenance. The sludge, of course, is a problem. Yes, we should have removed it. This is the right time to do that. But even if we had, so let's pretend a year ago we would have removed the sludge, given the other factors in this equation, we would still have a problem, and that's what we need to get a handle of right now. That's the problem. What do we need to do for our maintenance to make these smells the exception? Because sewer plants do smell bad, but not the rule. Right now, that's the rule. It smells bad.
Okay. And is this, the way, the frequency of the maintenance, is that a policy decision, or is that something that is sort of like a standard that's already set, that our public works folks know what to do?
It's operational in nature. So let me tell you what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is that we need to make sure that we have an aggressive schedule, not only for the sludge, but for all of the maintenance of that plant that could in any way, shape, or form influence the smell. We can't just relax. We need to be aggressive about how we move forward. Your policy direction, the way I see it tonight, is make sure this doesn't happen again.
Well, certainly,
And
yeah.
my role is to figure out how to comply with that
And
desire.
I think that's my point, city manager, is that if there is a standard, if clearly there's a policy that say we gotta keep our residents safe, that we want to address any odors, then if it's operational, then clearly there's some maybe oversight issues.
Exactly.
There's some monitoring that needs to happen. So we want to make sure that that happens. And if that requires a policy that we set so that we ensure that happens, and certainly we want to do that, right? But this is something that clearly there was some neglect that occurred previously. We want to make sure that that does not happen again. Again, I think we talked about this at the last meeting. Generally, when we have these kinds of issues, the communities that are affected are the same communities that generally have other hardships, other burdens put upon them. So this is just not acceptable. So what we need is to figure out, how do we ensure that this doesn't happen again? So, okay, so good. So I think we want to make sure that that's in place, and so that there's closer oversight. And go ahead.
And the policy decision where you have 100% control is the budget. So when we bring you a budget, it should indicate a line item that shows that we are removing the sludge. That's how we demonstrate that we're not just taking notes, but that we are actually implementing the policy direction that you've set.
Sure, and since it looks like there is the fund that exists already, it's there. So then that's what we need, is we need the information about that. It just needs to get plugged in. It should. I mean, to me, this seems to me like, I don't know if I'm just being oversimplistic, and that's part of why it's like a little bit frustrating as I'm talking about that and getting into the stuff that is so technical, which we are not experts. We shouldn't expect our public to be experts in this. It just seems like you're cleaning your house. You got to do some stuff when you clean your house. We need to clean our house, right? So why do we have to have a special policy? Anyway, that's why it's a little bit frustrating. So I won't, but clearly we do, because there was some neglect, right? And we dropped the ball. And I say that the global we, previous council, maybe staff, maybe our contractors. I mean, I think all of us, I think we can share some of the blame. Right now, however, we know this is happening. We can't let it happen again. And clearly all of us seem to be committed at this dais to make sure that doesn't happen, and we need everybody's help in this, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And our maintenance plan should indicate removal of sludge, and that's the conversation.
And I think the
every 4
maintenance
years.
plan can, if I can just be really, really clear about that, city manager, is make sure that part of the maintenance plan and our master plan, when we get to that, includes regular reporting to us, because I mean, unfortunately, the only way for us to monitor it is that we smell it, right? By then it's too late. We want to make sure we never get to that point. That's the point. Okay, so then the next thing is around our contractor. So I want to make sure that we're getting some kind of information for you about if we're this close to considering moving on to another contractor, that we get more information about what those options are, but clearly we need this to work, right?
Of course.
I think ultimately it doesn't matter who does it, it's just like, let's just get it done. Okay, and then one last thing I wanna, I'm just trying to go back on some of my notes. So you said the maintenance is the main issue. Well, it is the main issue, however, it is, equipment failure as well, and the fact that the pumps and the aerators were not replaced timely. So obviously we need to just move forward with that, and it sounds like we'll get more information. And then finally, I agree with the need for environmental studies. We need to make sure that we can, with some scientific data, reassure our public that this is not creating a health issue, that we have it handled, and the plan that we have in place is in fact one that is a solid plan that will prevent some of this in the future. Okay, so I'm done with my with my form. So Councilmember Resendez, did you have any last minute? And then I'm gonna go to public comment.
I have a lot of questions, but I do want to point something out, Mayor Stevens, as far as process. You called for questions. The city manager called for questions. Councilmember Morales did not ask one question. I'm going to finish what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What Councilmember Morales did is called diffusion of accountability. She gave a statement, AKA politics, right? This agency, this person, we're here now. No, let's keep in mind, Mayor Mia Casey, Councilmember Morales, and the other members that were up here at the time are responsible for what we're dealing with now. And I just want to remind my colleagues, if the floor is open for questions, ask questions. Don't sit up here and play politics to the people. I have lots of questions, Mayor.
Okay, well, yeah, and I really am going to ask you to try to keep it concise, because I do want to go to public comment, and I also think that each one of us has our own way of presenting information, so I just want to respect that as well. But go ahead and ask your questions, but I do want to go to public comment, so let me know when, because you can always come back again and ask some more questions.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to follow process. I'm going to ask my questions. Thank you. What I heard from Councilmember DeAnda about the sludge causing chromium-6, I did find in my research that does happen. Chromium-6 is from rust, and that can be expedited from sludge. What I heard from Mayor Roxanne Stevens about the drying of the matter, my understanding, Mr. Hernandez, is that it's more costly when it's wet. Therefore, in the past, they have dried the matter out to be more economically feasible for the tax-paying citizens. However, that comes at a different set of problems, right? When you're drying all of the sewer matter out, what's going to happen? It's going to smell even more. So it's a big inconvenience. So getting back to Mayor Stevens' question about, I'm going to call it preventative methods. Is there a machine, or are there machines there now that we can continue removing sludge always, not just when it inconveniences the public, our infrastructure breaks down and we are forced to do it and we don't have it planned in our budget? Are there machines in place that help do that? And is there other machines that we can purchase to do that repeatedly, ongoing, as a preventative measure?
We are actively, as part of the master plan, we are evaluating that as well.
We can't wait for the master plan. I'll be honest with you. I'm sorry, Mr. Hernandez, but what happens in my experience, we have these master plans. They look beautiful on the shelf, but we don't go back and revisit them. That's very problematic. So I would like, if it's okay with my colleagues, to bring that back as well for a budget request item.
Council member, we may not have to ask for a budget request. I mean, that's part of our stage right now. We're trying to identify what's there. It is a conversation that we need to discuss with our vendor.
Yes.
They are a global corporation. They should have the latest and greatest technology. So that would be a great question for us to ask them, is what can we do for a periodic removal of that? There are we are accountable. The buck stops with the city manager, no doubt. However, we do have contractors that are subject matter experts for a reason.
Yeah.
So that is part of the dialogue.
But my understanding is there are machines. So why don't we look at purchasing those machines and bringing them back when there's an appropriate time to lessen the dependency on the contractors?
I'm reading it right now, and yes, indeed, there are a number of options.
Yeah.
So yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So let's do that. Other questions? Oh, big one. Number one, what other sewer are we expecting to bring in right now, aside from San Juan Bautista? Like, what is scheduled to come in to add to our existing sewer right now, other than San Juan Bautista?
Outside of the city of Hollister?
Yes.
Okay, outside.
I do not have
Yes,
an answer. I don't,
We can't take any more.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we need to find out what
We
is
will.
scheduled to come in, and we need to put a stop to it for now. We've got these problems at the sewer. We're at capacity. We cannot take any more for now. So I think it's important to work with them and temporarily stop bringing in any more if there's anything scheduled. That's my concern. My other final and last concern in my research, and again, I know this is a different subject, but we process the tomato factory's waste at the industrial wastewater ponds. Typically, that's where we have problems in the summer. Not really the domestic, although right now it's the domestic, I understand that. But if we look at the history of what happened at the tomato ponds, which I'm sure you're all aware of, is that used to be our old domestic wastewater treatment plant. What happened? It broke, it overflowed, and then the state put a moratorium on us because of it. Here's my concern, Mr. Hernandez and Ms. Cortez, just thinking about this rationally. If we had a sewer system that broke, the state put a stop to us building houses. They made us build a new domestic one. We charge the taxpaying citizens for it. That's why their bill's so high. Why are we processing tomato waste in that pond when industrial waste is far more harsh than domestic? I would imagine that there's going to be problems there because we're not necessarily in control of how they're processing their waste. And if we're going to continue partnering with them, then we need to get a good handle to make sure that when they're in season, that it's not inconveniencing the public, not only with the smell, but with outdated processes that may be causing chromium-6 to leak into our water wells. Because in my research, that could be another potential hazard that's introduced chromium-6. And I know we're getting into it. So we have to look into that before, like right now, before the tomato season factory comes up.
We will.
Understood.
And then my other last thing just is that the infrastructure from the tomato factory, all the pipes and stuff, that's where it smells along the way. I know that industrial waste, again, is far more harsh than domestic. And then on top of that, it smells over at the ponds. But I think we need to get a handle of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so let me just, if I can just like put a little bit more detail on the request, because the question from Councilmember Resendez about any additional, like any other things that will be added to the capacity, right? If we're going to bring in other, I don't know, businesses in a plant or whatever, that it's going to add to our current, I'm not really sure how to say this in a really nice way, but where we're bringing in more waste that will create, like a bigger problem that will add to that. I mean, I think we need to find out, like, if there are other things that are in process that maybe, I don't know, like can we stop that at least until we get a handle on this? And if we can't, then we need to be able to let the public know what that's about and why. And then that for now, that until we get the handle on it, we can't add to it, at least not right now, right? So I think for me, it's a two-pronged question. There might be some that are not using our facility quite yet, but maybe because of permits, because of where they're at in their building or whatever it is in the permitting process or whatever it is. They may be, we may not be able to stop that. We need that information. and the reasons for that. And then there may be others that are still kind of in the wings that they're requesting to use our facility, and maybe we have a little more control over those. So I'd like to know, like, where are we in those processes with all of these potential additional sources of waste? Does that make sense? I know that, I mean, I'm not
Yes,
yeah,
Madam
okay.
Mayor, so.
Okay, so if we can just like kind of detail that out a little
Yes.
bit more.
We'll collect the data so we can demonstrate, given the pipeline, the projects that are in the pipeline, what impact that would have on the capacity.
Okay,
Make
okay.
sure that it is documented so that 2 years from now, there's not a new story, but we can
Right.
track it.
Right. Okay. Okay. And then I just want to add one more like detail or nuance to the question around the drying. So I really would like, I hear you, Mr. Hernandez, when you say that the drying process is very costly, and I think that's fine that, you let us know that. However, I would like to just get more information, because I think all the information about the cost of stuff plus the cost effectiveness, which are, two different things. In the short term, it may be more costly. In the long run, it may be less. I just think that we need to be very, very thoughtful about how we're making decisions about this, especially because we're at that point where, we have this opportunity to upgrade our equipment and the way that we handle our waste. So let's get all the information and do the best that we possibly can, and understand that some things may be costly, but they're more cost effective. But let's just get all that information. So although I think the bottom line might be, yes, it's more costly, I would like to see the data that shows the actual costs, both in the short term and in the long run, as well as what are the pros and cons of doing one process over the other. So does that make
Yes.
sense to do that? Okay.
Yes.
So I would just like that as as we're talking about our study session, let's get some of that information. Okay, let me check again. Any last other thoughts before I go to public comment? Any thoughts? Okay, let's go to public comment. Do we have any speakers?
There are no speakers for this item.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the council. So for this, city manager, do you need any other direction? I think that
Nope.
we have like all the different questions from the different members of the council, and then we will get a study session scheduled. We will also be getting updates. I'm gonna ask, and I'm gonna assume, and in fact expect that at next Monday's meeting we will also have an update. Is that right?
You probably will have an update. I
Yes.
don't know that it'll be that much more
We need an
robust.
update. Whatever we
But-
got.
But
Whatever we
your-
got. Okay,
Your
we got.
direction
I-
was that in my reports that I would have an
Yes.
update every time.
In the short term, we need reports at every city council meeting,
Yes.
city manager, and give us what you got, right? Even if it's not everything, it's what we got. And then please, let's get that study session scheduled. I don't know if we want to do it at a regular city council meeting, or if we want a separate date and time, which might be better, because it might be take up a lot of time, but let's get that scheduled, okay? Mr. Hernandez, and then I'll come to you, council member.
I mean, would it be beneficial to the council if we, in this study session, we get a subject matter expert to?
I'm going to leave that up to you two. So city manager, I think this is what I would just say. I think it's a question that you would ask yourself. If you're not feeling completely comfortable with giving the most accurate information or answering all the questions that we have, then please bring in someone else. But I'll leave that up to you too. That's my
Fair.
thought. Okay, Councilmember Sendez, a final thought, and then I think we're going to move on to the next item.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. I just want to, again, wrap up kind of what I said. First off, I just want to say thank you to you both. Thank you to the mayor. Thank you to my colleagues. I really feel that I'm optimistic, to say the least, even though we're facing something that is very, very concerning. Our residents are being inconvenienced. I'm optimistic with you helping to lead and sitting next to these people, other than, I'll be honest, Councilmember Morales. I'm very optimistic about it. I don't think that this is something we can't fix and get through. And I also, from hearing from our conversations, have found out that there are funds available for us to be able to upgrade and maintain these in a proper way. I really appreciate how transparent and honest we're being, since we were just found out about all of this, rather than trying to sweep it under the rug or play politics and diffuse accountability across different agencies. So that's very important. But I just want to remind the public, and I want to remind my colleagues up here, the city of Hollister's domestic wastewater treatment plant is yours. It belongs to the citizens, and it belongs to the city of Hollister. I'm not opposed to working with Violi. This is the time where we need them to step up. I'll be honest. If you're a contractor with us, this is when we need you to step it up and to partner strong with us so we can work through this. I don't think it's a good idea for us to part ways with anybody, because we are in the middle of a semi-crisis, but I think we can get through it. I'll be honest. But I really am just putting out that call there from our community partners to help us get through this, not put more barriers and challenges in front of us. This is when we need them the most. I'm not done.
Okay.
Thank you. I just want to say, this is your sewer, this is our sewer, and there are developers and special interests and elected officials that are put up here with their money to give it away to build more houses and to grow the city. That's what happened with Mayor Mia Casey and the old city council, and that's why they're no longer here. Now that we know, I've shared this with my colleagues before, now that you know, you've got to do something about it. I didn't know. I had a hunch, right? Now we have all the truth, but now we all know. So let's forge forward together in the way that we had said. And I know we're throwing a lot at you, but please take all of that and then bring it back to us in an organized way. And I really appreciate how Mayor Roxanne Stevens every time has a really good way of kind of synchronizing all that for you so that we can have a path forward with her under her leadership.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on the side of the dais? Nothing. Okay.
I just
Okay.
have one
Oh, go
thing
ahead.
that said
Go ahead,
much about
Councilmember
this
Pache.
item. So in my time up here, I don't have as extensive time on the dais as others, but what I have noticed is that in this town, we are very reactive when it comes to fixing things when they break. We wait, we put a load on, let's say in this conversation, it's the wastewater treatment facility, and we wait until it's almost, it gets to almost a crisis mode before we fix it. We wait for a water main to break, and luckily we've been pretty lucky. We've had few breaks, but we've had a couple on 4th Street in the last few years. We've had one on Main Street, which has been more than just an inconvenience. You can't run a Chinese food restaurant, a Mexican food restaurant, a sushi joint. You can't make pho without water. You can't run a restaurant. You can't run businesses without water. So businesses had to shut down because water main broke. So, last week I brought up this thing called Kaizen, continuous improvement, and getting into a program where at every department, we look for ways to improve the department, whether it be something small or even something potentially large. There's something that we can do. Every employee, if they switched into a mode where we can find little ways to improve that department, even if it's small, like I said, over time, we get enough of these little improvements, we can make some really good, positive, big changes. My ask is that we align our efforts in thinking a little bit more long-term and figuring out ways to get out ahead of issues like this before they become a big issue. This last year, we have been playing catch-up with our budget. We have been playing catch-up with a lot of things that have been broken for more than the time that I've been on this dais. They've been broken for 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 years. And I feel like anything that we can do to be more proactive and get out ahead of issues like this, I would like to get into that mode of thinking at every level within the city's organization. Think about that Kaizen, that continuous improvement, that Edwards-Deming approach. Let's get into that so we can just start governing in a more responsible way and people get what they have been paying for. $80, $90 for a sewer bill, it's pretty high. It's come down a little bit through the debt reorganization, but we need to deliver a solid product. And with all the questions that Mr. Resendez and the mayor have, I think that we can start getting on this right track. But there are more than just this particular issue where we're reactive. There are a lot of other ways that we can take a more proactive approach. So I would like us all as a team.
Sure.
We all can work together as a team. I'd like us to be more proactive in various ways,
Yeah.
including this one.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. I mean, clearly that what's on all of our minds is we really want to prevent this in the future. So in being proactive, as Councilmember Pache phrased it, it's really about getting ahead of it so that we prevent this from happening again. So if we're reacting to it, then it's too late. If we're proactive, we are preventing this. And so let's do everything we can. And I think to your point, I mean, looking at all the different options, looking at the costs in a different way so that we're sure that even if it's more dollars, that it's more cost effective. And we just want to make the best decision, but we need all the information. Okay, so we're going to wrap that one up and move on to the next item, 4.1. So City of Hollister newly adopted public notification and public information approach, council's next step. So let's get a staff report.
So the second item, and thank you, Deputy Mayor, for your question regarding chromium and in the odor, and thank you, Councilman Resendez, for indicating that actually there is a correlation. I was not aware of that. The second item, and really the trigger for this session, is again this letter that we had to send out because of the testing. So at the dais, you have a map that shows you the different wells that the city has, the three that were tested, and showing which ones had tested above the allowable limit, which triggered the letter that you also have with you and the letter that I will be sending probably after this meeting. So the key message here that we want to convey is that water is safe to drink. So I drink water from the faucet in the city of Hollister. I would like to continue doing that. I encourage all residents to drink water from the faucet. We are providing good water. Now, having said that, yes, we tested, and now we have an approach on how we will deal with that. Before I ask Mr. Hernandez to talk about the approach, we also understand that California is known for having these levels of chromium. Mother Nature is responsible for that, not always, but it is a factor. We don't know if it's Mother Nature or if it comes from a different source, but we have an approach for treating it. So, Mr. Hernandez, would you be so kind?
So we are in the final stages of developing the San Benito Urban Water Supply and Treatment Agreement with our partner Sunny Slope and the San Benito County Water District. So what is being proposed is really a blending aspect of where we take surface water, we run it through treatment plants, and lack of better terms, infuse that into a mixture with our well water. We are currently doing that at a certain level, but this would help dilute the levels of chromium to below the threshold, which currently we're at 13 parts. One of the wells I think tested at like 11, 12. The other one tested at 13 parts per billion. So the threshold for having to notify the public is 10 parts per billion. So we are, hovering right around that line where we potentially didn't even have to notify the public because we are considering the safe zone, for lack of better terms. But there is a plan that's being finalized, again, in partnership with our partners, and this is going to go to the State Department of Drinking Water for coordination and verification prior to issuance of the plan.
So key here is that it's not up to us to say it's safe. There is a regulatory agency, the state of California, that ultimately determines if it's safe or not. And so we are being proactive. This is why we wanted to have this session. And so what that led, and as we move forward, that's how I would love to manage some of the issues here in the city. What that led was to a bigger conversation, not about the odor, not about the water, but just in general, how do we communicate these difficult conversations? And so what I wanted to share with you was a proposed framework in which information comes to the city. It could be through you, it could be through a partner that tells us that something is wrong, could be by a community member, could be an email, could be in Facebook, could be in any way, shape, or form. Public Works is where we centralize our utilities. So therefore, that is the entity that would look at some type of verification within established period of time. We don't want to have timelines that are undefined. We get busy, things happen, we forget, 1 year goes by, 2 years go by. So here we have a 3 working days to verify that the problem exists and so on. Then mitigations will be taken as much as we can possibly do. And it'll be a conversation between the Public Works Department and the City Manager's Office. The City Manager's Office will update the council depending on the gravity of the issue. It could be that we call for a special session. It could be that it's a phone call. But the point is that aside from wondering why it smells bad, you should be empowered to tell the community what is being done, when it's being done, and even explain how we got to that point. And so that responsibility falls on my shoulders to make sure that you're empowered with that information. So that's what we propose moving forward. Again, we are here to ensure the quality of life for all of our community is consistent. And so this is one way of creating that.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to go to the dais. I'm actually going to start on this side, see if there's any questions on the side. Councilmember Morales, questions, comments? Vice Mayor Deonda, any questions, comments? Okay, Councilmember Resendez, go ahead.
First off, thank you. Sorry. Thank you. This is the first time, I mean, you've been here less than a week, City Manager Cortez, and as soon as you found this out, you gave us the information. So again, I'm very grateful to you for providing that to us, not just us, but the public. Second of all, I want to just state, I'm going to get to my questions, but I just want to state that, like, I'm not trying to diffuse accountability or play politics with this. I'm being very honest and transparent. So I do have a lot of questions. Okay. So my first question, Mr. Hernandez, Ms. Cortez, is this testing came to fruition in March of 2025, a year ago. Why is it that we're barely finding out now? I heard it was between March and December 2025. Why are we barely finding this out now? And is this like common practice, or are you supposed to let us know, like, what is the guidelines as far as that goes, notifying the public?
Yes, and that is an important question.
Yeah.
So as far as testing water, we have to test through a period of time. And this is why we have different locations since a different period of time. So the plan was to test throughout 2025. Started in March, finished in December. So now we have the results from all those tests, and they cannot be outliers. That's what we're trying to avoid, reacting to some fluke. At this point, we have the data that shows that regardless of where we tested in 2025, the result was the same and consistent. So now we're able to say, yes, we need to deal with the situation. And that testing, the timeline, is consistent with the state of California's regulations.
That's what I was getting at. Because I'm not sure, and the public's not sure, right? So thank you for that. That was very clear. How often is it tested?
The schedule for testing water for quality? Yeah. Mr. Hernandez?
We have been testing it quarterly.
Quarterly.
As of last year, correct.
Okay.
So the state can demand more frequent testing if they see suitable.
Oh, good. Okay. I think we should do that anyway, whether the state asks us to or not. I'll be honest with you. again, I've never heard of chromium-6 being in our water. So to your knowledge, have you looked at the records in the past and seen whether or not we've tested above levels for chromium-6 that had to be reported to the public and we had to work with the state?
My understanding of the chromium-6 is that the threshold for reporting has come down, or the state's becoming more stringent in the requirement to report. So that is really what's causing us to hover above that line. So it's not necessarily that the water level's getting worse, it's just that the testing is becoming more stringent.
Okay, but in order for us to make that determination, we have to look at our old test and we have to see, have we always been testing at 13 and I forget what you said the other number was. So have we done that?
We have been testing. I have not gone back in our historical data and checked.
So I would suggest that just to see if there is if it's consistent with what Hollister's history's been like, and if really truly the standard coming down is what's impacting this trigger, so to speak.
We can do that.
Also, like, I really appreciate you saying that that we're going to bring the state in and have them do environmental tests. But again, for the same reason that we're going to have some sort of environmental testing done with the sewer, the water, the dirt. I mean, there's been line breaks over there. We should probably bring in a third-party, non-biased expert to kind of relieve the public's stress and our stress that this is not something to be very concerned of. I don't feel like we have that yet.
Okay.
And that's always kind of been my concern.
We can definitely bring a third party. I 100% agree. Don't take our word for it, right? Trust but verify.
Yeah.
So let's trust, but let's verify.
But we do our own testing. Like we have a consultant that does a test, that performs the testing. So it's not the state per se that comes down and tests. They evaluate the results.
Yeah, but as far as it being, like, we know that what I heard was chromium-6 at certain levels is a carcinogen. It's been found in the Aaron Brockovich movies, right? This is what happened. So I want to make sure that we, again, just to calm people down so that we have factual scientific data, that we bring in a non-biased third-party environmental expert scientist to tell us what you're saying.
I understand, and we will definitely reach out.
I'm confused. I hate saying when I'm confused up here, but I really am. Can you just explain to me, Mr. Hernandez, what the treatment looks like with the West Hills treatment facility in regards to this? How does that work? I know we built the West Hills treatment facility to deal with probably the salt in the underground water basins and probably the chromium-6 and everything, but can you just explain to me that process? I have a hard time wrapping my head around this.
I'm probably not the best person to explain the filtration, the whole process of the West Hills.
Sure.
We do have in the audience some very
maybe we can invite them to a meeting and have them give us an update.
Right.
Because I know that the city of Hollister and the citizens paid for that West Hills treatment facility. And then just recently, this council, I voted against it, I think, are charging them even more. So it's concerning to find out that we have the West Hills treatment facility that's supposed to address this issue, yet we're still testing positive for chromium-6 in our wells. So maybe we can just invite them to the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to the tomato factory, and I'm not an expert, but I'm going to need you to walk me through this map here. I know where the tomato factory is. I see on this map where the 3 wells are. Oh, there's the 5th one. Okay, I was looking for the 5th one. So I see there's 5 wells on this map. 1, 2, 3. Can you tell me what number was at the one on south, closest to south? What did we test? What number did we test for that one?
I do not have the information in front of me, but it was one that tested above the 10 parts per billion.
Right. So I want to know if it's higher or lower than the one further away that's on. God, I can't see. I'm getting old.
May I?
Thank you. Sally and Prune. Can we find out?
Councilman, I think I know exactly where you're going.
Yeah,
and I get
because
we need to make sure that that plant is not affecting our water
ding,
source.
ding, 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 ding.
I got it.
Because the one furthest away, Miss Cortez, did not meet the threshold, but it did. So, putting this together in my head, we've got the tomato factory here. I would imagine that the one on South is the highest, could potentially, if my theory is correct. The one on that Councilmember Pache said, Prune and Sally, is mid-range, and the one furthest away is what it's stating. Because look at the one over by the airport, nada, zilch. And the one over by, God, Rudy, you're gonna have to help me out. Is it
It's on
LAD? I see
airline.
LAD.
It's near airline. I think.
Airline, thank
Yeah.
you. Nada. So what concerns me, again, going back to the tomato factory, we're contracting with them, we're processing their industrial waste. In my research, industrial waste is way more harsher to process than domestic, but we're not involved in the processes there. We have failing infrastructure. Could it be that the chromium, that the way that they're processing the tomato from the factory is what's causing the chromium 6 levels to leak into our well system and our drinking water? I'll leave it at that.
So,
That concludes
Okay.
my questions, Mayor Stevens.
Okay, thank you.
So, Councilman, I'm seeing that as that's a hypothesis, and at this
Yeah.
point, it's our burden to prove it wrong or to deal with
Agreed.
it if it's right.
Agree. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Pache, any questions or comments?
Yeah, so 4.2 is about, newly adopted public notifications and public information approach, and I just really like what I'm hearing. Get out ahead of it, be proactive. This is a great example of informing the public, giving them the information that they need instead of them coming up with their own hypotheses, coming up with their own thoughts or emotional outbursts or going on the social media and, blowing the town up. I like giving the public the information so it's out there in the open. As much as we like it when it's packed in here and we have these huge meetings, it shows people are really engaged. But our meetings are not always that way, and I don't think that I don't even know how many people are actually watching our meetings on YouTube in arrears or watching them on Zoom as they're going on. But I really like what I'm hearing about just getting out ahead and giving people the information. When it comes to, adding more to an overburdened infrastructure and in this case, the wastewater treatment facility, I have been becoming more aligned with the notion of having those that we are connecting up to it, such as San Juan Oaks, the city of San Juan Bautista. Is it possible to have them pre-treat their solid waste before sending it to us to do all of the treatment?
So we're, like, that was our previous issue. Do you
I
want to
know, I
add
just thought
that
of it
to?
now.
Yeah, so maybe that's a conversation we can add to
Can we
the
add that
previous
concept of
item,
pre-treatment? I
or
just
maybe
thought of
something
it
you
right
could talk.
now.
Yeah, so we're talking. So let's stick to the chromium 6 issue with the water and the messaging. But yeah, there's certainly something that you can talk to them. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay. Okay. Is that it? Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Pache. Okay. So Councilmember Sanders asked quite a few of the questions that I wanted to ask. So thank you for that information, because those were some of the questions around the frequency and why, because there was some, I heard March and then I heard December, and so it wasn't clear. So it sounds like there is a series of tests that occur quarterly during the year, and then a report comes after the analysis of all the data that was accumulated during that. So then my question around that is that the way that we will continue to get this information? So we're going to be in this year now, right? So the testing occurred last year, 2025, March through December, series of tests. All the data was compiled, and then some analysis happened right after that. I'm going to assume January, and then we got the information February. So my question is that what we have, that we can expect? Is that the timeline for the testing and the reporting to happen for the following year and years to come?
Yes. So I like to say that there is only one service in any municipality that can potentially kill, and water is one of them. We already know what happened in Flint, Michigan, and there are other communities like that. Therefore, the state of California is quite aggressive in ensuring that the quality of water is safe. So we have a series of tests and just procedures that we have to fulfill in order for us to be in good standing with the state.
Okay.
So that part is not up to us.
Yeah.
The state tells us what we need to do, when we need to do it, and if there's a problem, how to fix it.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And thank you for that, because it's sort of like a two-part like message and question that I have, because there's the testing, the process, how that works. And then as like today, what I really, really like about what's happened in this last week is that we found out about it immediately. It's like we all had the same thought. We can't wait till the following regular city council meeting. We got to get this information and an opportunity for us to discuss this out to the public, right? So in that effort, my question was really around, so here's the process, right? There's all these series of tests. There's some analysis that has to happen. There's a reporting. So public, in the future, next year, January, February, you can expect another report like this, right? As well as what we're going to do about it. Because I want to make sure. The reason that I'm making this statement is part of what we committed to. I think everybody's sitting at the dais right now is that part of our goals for this council was we wanted to make sure that we were as transparent, as responsive as we possibly could. So it does feel for me a bit uncomfortable, and I respect the comment around, we have to, we follow the processes that the state or the requirements that the state puts upon us, but also what is our responsibility to keep the public informed? So is the whole year of testing, and then I'm going to assume if that's the regular process, the annual reporting, is that good enough for reporting to our public? Is there a way to get information to them, I don't know, more timely as needed? I don't know. So my question is really about being transparent, getting the message out to the public, especially when it comes to something that is so crucial like our water. And it's not about me being critical or saying that we should do things differently. It's more about making sure that we understand, and understand also that is an appropriate way to inform our public. And should we, so the question is more like, should we be more proactive, maybe more robust in our reporting to the public?
Madam Mayor, I think that's an excellent question. I mean, we operate from the assumption that water is safe until we tell you it is not.
Right.
What you're asking us is, actually, let's be more affirmative. Affirm that the water is okay. Mm-hmm. It's a different way of looking at the same thing. I can make that part of my report as well. Again, we are not hiding anything. This is easy. I'll inform you whenever we're testing, and the assumption is everything is okay.
Great.
And if it isn't, then we'll have this.
And I love that, and here's why. Because it does not make sense in my mind, and I'm going to assume with the public that you only are going to get the information about whether your water is safe or not in January and February. Do you know what I mean? That just seems like, no, you get the information when we have the information. Oh, your water's safe right now. Your water's safe right now. Wait a minute. There's a little bit of a concern right now, so now we're addressing it. So I just want to make sure that we're just not on this January, February timeline to report to the public that their water's safe. So I want to make sure that we are thinking about the way that we're messaging that, and that we're not just sticking to this very rigid, testing and analysis and reporting out to the public timeline, right?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to just put that out there, city manager, and I want you to think about it, because I do love this idea of being affirmative, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so right now it's like, there's some concerns, however, we will report when there's changes in that level, and then affirming always that the water is safe to drink, especially drinking, right? And also to use for other purposes, because we use our water for all sorts of things, right? So we want to be able to say that. Okay, so thank you for that. So that's one thing that I just wanted to put out there, as this idea of being super transparent in messaging is so crucial to our public. The other thing is I'm looking at this map, I see there's the 5 wells. There's 3 that are highlighted and 2 in which, and tell me if I'm looking at, because this map is very hard to read, and the little red lines they blur into it. It is a tough thing, and especially when you're my age, it's even tougher. Okay, so there's 2 wells where the levels were tested at a degree where we had to report. Am I understanding that correctly, Mr. Hernandez?
I guess further clarification on the mapping. The 3 wells that are identified with the circles around them, those are 3 of our city's infrastructure that we own those wells. The other wells that are to the east those are Sunny Slopes wells. So
Okay.
those aren't our wells.
Okay.
The other 2 wells, the total of 5 that we have, are actually not shown on this plan, but they both aren't even showing a trace of chromium.
Okay, but my point is those 2 are the ones in which the levels were at a level where we were required to message. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Is there, I'm kind of going back to the same line of thinking as Councilmember Resendez, do we have a sense of why there? And so it may be the tomato factory. Are there other reasons? Why those 2? Why not the rest of it? And the reason I'm asking that is because this is how I understand that, I'm just a person who likes to drink water, and I have I have expertise in other areas, but certainly not here. This is not my area of expertise. It seems to me like our water flows throughout our system. How is it possible that in these 2 very, very specific locations, we have some levels, and in the rest of our system, when I think the water flows freely through, it does not have this? So I want to make sure that I understand that, and more importantly, that we can reassure the public that they are they're isolated there, and then the explanation of why it is there, because it doesn't seem to follow common sense if our water just flows freely throughout the system.
So our system is interconnected, but these samples are taken at the wellhead site. So this is the water that's directly being pumped from our groundwater table.
Okay.
So it's a direct reflection of the material right underneath that well. So that's why you're only getting the positive or higher level.
The higher levels,
at
right?
those specific
Okay.
locations, because potentially you have a composition of minerals that are more susceptible to chromium-6 in that area. Just to further analyze that, you would have to do some underground exploration and see
Okay.
what you have there. And then water travels underground, right? So just because it tested positive there, it might have been a channel for that water to get there, and might be coming from up the hill. Like, there's really, these are spot tests.
Okay, so if I'm looking at the one that's on South and Powell, the one that's near that, and by the way, those are near some schools and some head starts and daycare centers and stuff like that, so that's a little worrisome. Obviously we've already determined that there isn't health issues, but it's just it's just that the location, it kind of jumps out at me, because I know that's where a lot of kids are. Okay, so if I say to a resident, you live near Buena Vista, your water levels you don't even need to be concerned about it, because they're okay. They're not even at the level where we have to report out. Is that an accurate message to the resident that lives on Buena Vista, because they're not near Powell and South?
I don't think so. The water is all connected.
Exactly.
We tested at that point in time. Maybe it's Mother Nature, maybe it's the tomato factory, maybe it's something else. I don't
Okay,
feel that we can.
because I think, I mean, I think as we ask the question about why these locations, and we want to get a clear answer for that, we also want to make sure that we're not in any way misleading the public by saying, oh, they're isolated in these two locations, right? Let's make sure that the messaging is proper, right? And clearly, we're handling this. We've already acknowledged that that health is not affected. We know that the water is safe to drink. Our city manager is drinking her water from the faucet, so we know it's safe. However, let's make sure that we're not misleading the public, right? By putting out, like, just putting these maps and saying, oh, if you live there, well, you know, your levels, we're monitoring it, we're concerned about it, but everybody else is going to conclude that they're okay. Let's just make sure that we're giving the accurate information about how this all works, right? Let's just get on top of it. And again, going back to Councilmember Pichet's messaging around being proactive and being preventative, let's do that, because I do think that even though they're isolated, the tests were isolated in these locations where there was a chromium levels that rose to the level where we had to message, I just want to make sure that we're not in an effort to show where they're coming from, where those tests were coming from, that we're not misleading the public,
No,
right? Let's make sure that the information is as accurate as possible. And then I think that as we get more information about this, city manager and Director Hernandez, that you mentioned that the state changed the standard, so it wasn't really that something happened within our water levels, but they've changed the standard, and I get that. I mean, California is generally, looking at being at more like being at the forefront of safety and maybe some technology and maybe some environmental stuff. I mean, we're always at the forefront. But I think I would like to get a little more information about that. What were the levels before that we had to report? Why the change in the standard? How does that benefit the public? What are the dangers of not messaging, et cetera? So I would like to understand that a little bit better. Okay, I think that's it. I think those were my questions. Let me look at my. I think that's it. I think those are my questions. So let me double check really quick before I go to public comment. Anything else from the? Okay. No. Okay.
I have one quick
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
I just
Who's
have one
Councilmember Pichet? Okay.
Super
Okay.
quick.
Go ahead.
So Javier, Mr. Hernandez, our director, can remind me of the frequency, but we do get water quality reports in our bill. I believe that we get them at least annually. We might get them semi-annually. So we are, on a level, we are being proactive, and I think they are probably mandated by the state. But we do get that, and I read them, and we have pretty darn good water.
Okay.
Just as a reminder.
Okay. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Okay, thank
go
you,
ahead,
Mayor.
Councilmember Resendez.
So the mayor pointed out, and you had mentioned, Mr. Hernandez, that there's 2 other wells. Can you just tell us where they're at in relation to the existing map that we could not read? Just because my eyes are bad, honestly.
It's southwest. They're up on the hillside. I don't recall the road, but they're southwest some ways. I mean, a couple miles down on the southwest side.
So if I'm looking at the map, I have it just how you presented it, right? So let's look at. You're gonna have to point this out for me. I don't know how, but I would like to see on this map.
Are you talking about the one that's near Lad Lane and
No, there's
and
2
25?
other ones that you had. Remember, he said there's
Yeah,
2 other
so
ones that
there's
are not on the
one
map. I'm
There's
just wondering
one
where they're
off of
at.
San Felipe.
I can-
Let me ask, Madam Clerk, is it possible to show the map?
That might
And
be
then
helpful.
I think we'll have a better.
Yeah, maybe you can even get her mouse or something. I just want to visually see it.
And do we have a pointer? Well, we can show.
No.
Okay, beautiful,
No,
thank you.
you're not gonna be able to see it there. We have it in our GIS. That's something.
But the general direction.
Yeah,
So-
it's down and to the left.
So where you see that, the white square at the bottom, left-hand corner?
Yes.
Even further south.
Okay,
Further
so
south.
it's safe to say it's further than the other one that
Correct.
tested minimum. Okay, just trying to put it together in my head. That's my last question. Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, public comment. Do we have any speakers for public comment?
There are no speakers for public comment.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back. So I think that we've asked some questions that we want to answer, to get answers. City Manager and Director Hernandez. So I think that maybe the study session that we plan could include some of this, but I do think that we would like to, I mean, me personally, I'll just speak for myself, would like to get some of these questions answered as quickly as possible, maybe for our next city council meeting, if that's possible. Not possible.
Madam Mayor, city members, city council. So right now, we have two major priorities in front of us.
Mhm.
One, of course, is the budget, and the other one is the water rate.
Mm-hmm.
So just quickly, a preview of what's to come on Monday. We will be making a recommendation or an option for you. In one of the paths that we can take is actually for staff to conduct an in-house rate analysis that is more thorough than what we currently have. And if on Monday you decide to take that option, then we will be very busy with that rate study.
So,
I'm
so
sorry,
The
what-
so the answer
Mayor,
is
real quick, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. This is
the-
not agendized. We should
no,
not be
I'm
talking
not.
about it.
No. My question is, because then is your point that because we have that, it won't be possible to get these questions answered on Monday? Is that your
Correct.
response?
Yeah,
So
right.
then, City Manager, when can we get?
At the following meeting, at the following council meeting. Right
Okay.
now, we are working, preparing the water
So not
rate.
this coming Monday, but the first Monday, the first meeting in March.
March.
Okay. Okay, let that kind of sink in. Did you have another question or comment, Councilmember?
No, did we
Sanders?
take public comment? I can't.
Yes, we
remember.
did. We
But
did.
Yeah,
There
I
was
just got
none.
closing
There was none.
remarks.
There was none.
Closing remarks.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. So again, I just want to thank you two, and my colleagues up here, everybody up here, as far as the water goes, because I think, as the mayor pointed out, we're being very forthcoming and transparent, and that's not something that's always happens. So I just want to point that out. I do again. I'm just going to go off of my. Again, a hunch, right? If we can, whoever's going to come in to help us out, if they can conduct studies to find out if there's a correlation with tomato season, with the testing. I mean, I think that can possibly be done, Mr. Hernandez. Like, I think that's something that's very doable. You just look at the numbers, look at when the tomatoes processing, look if there's spikes during that time. I think somebody can figure this out. We don't have the information. As far as transparency as well, Ms. Cortez and Mr. Hernandez, if we could just go back to anybody requesting information. I know we have to do a public records request, but if we could just, I don't know how we can expedite this or how long that normally takes. If people want to see the studies and everything, I don't want to, again, pass anything up as far as process, but again, if we can just get this out to the public, if they're requesting it. I don't anticipate a lot of people will, but if they need to, just keep that in mind.
course.
Back to the partnerships. This is the time that we need our partners to stand strong and to help us out. And if anybody's not doing that, or they're causing more challenges or barriers for us during this time, then I'm very unforgiving of that. I'll be honest with you. It's not a good look. It's not a good partnership. I'm not talking to staff in particular. I'm talking about the consultants outside of the city. Like, we pay them, we partner with them, and if they're giving you any type of challenges at all, please communicate that to Ms. Cortez, communicate that to us. We do know these people as well, and we can probably help out with that, but I want to put that out publicly. This is not the time for you to not follow through with your commitment to the city of Hollister and the citizens. Again, and then my other point is that this is our responsibility, right? It's going to fall on us now that we know, and I'm just reminding my colleagues and the public of that. And it seems scary. We don't have all the answers yet, but I'm, again, optimistic under this mayor, this council, this staff, that we are going to get through this in a very open, transparent, and fair way. And just to summarize what I heard from the mayor is that she just wants to get to the bottom of this. We don't know where it's coming from. And previous mayors and previous councils didn't get to the bottom of things. We see them blame shifting. We see them playing politics, putting it off on other people, not accepting accountability. That's not a good look, and that's not our style. The mayor had mentioned this again and again. We want to address this head on. We have to find out all the facts. Where is the chromium-6 coming from? Has there been peaks and whatnot? So we have to do what the mayor's asking us to do, and we just have to get to the bottom of this, take care of it, be proactive, and then move on from there in partnership with the community members. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on this side of the dais? Okay, and then I will just close. First of all, this is like specifically to our public, and I really do hope that people are watching this or will watch this, that the main message, thank you, City Manager, for emphasizing this at the very, very beginning, is that the water is safe, right? The water is safe, and that we are letting people know when some levels, the CR6 levels, have been elevated to the point where they need to be reported to you. And we want to be partners with everyone in our community. So just remember that first of all. So that was my just one big message to the public. The other thing I just want to just comment on is the messaging that we got, the written messaging that went out to the public. I do like the style which was a little bit less technical and didn't have a lot of jargon words, but that was a little bit more, I think, easier to understand. Let's just make sure that we stay in that theme when we get message out to our public, just remembering that our public do not have the expertise, it just like we don't in this area. So let's make it as easy to understand as possible. And I think ultimately what the public wants to know is the bottom line things. Like, why is it happening? How can we prevent it? And is it safe? And if it isn't, let's fix it, right? So that's the bottom line. But let's continue in the vein of getting the messaging out in a easy to understand way. I know that as in a lot of the work that I did in my own work, the standard was always, it should be at a 6th or 7th grade level, and not because our public is not intelligent. They are. We just want to make sure that it is something that people can fully understand, especially when we're talking about things that are so technical, so scientific. It's just really crucial that we get that in. So thank you for doing the different types of messaging, because I think they're both important. One has like the technical information. I think that can be very helpful, and people and it can move in people's thoughts to one direction, and then the other one that was a little more easier to understand. The other thing, again, and then along the lines too, again, thank you for the Spanish-English translation. I think those are super important. And then I just am going to ask that my questions be answered about how those wells, those two wells, how it was that's where the CR6 showed up, the levels showed up there, and then a better understanding of how it works together, since we know that for sure that the system is interconnected, right? Everything's interconnected. So let's make sure that we get that out there. And then I will then be looking forward to the first meeting in March to get a follow-up on this. Okay, so that's all of my thoughts, and I think we're done with that one, right? Is there anything else? Okay, so I'm gonna move to. Okay, can I just check with the clerk on the agenda? There's adjournment, and then after the adjournment, there's verification of posting. Should we do that the other way around, or
No, the
Oh, it's just there,
verification
is
is just
just a
no
message?
action,
We don't need to
just
do
have
anything.
it there.
Okay,
That's correct.
okay, so I'm gonna adjourn. Thank you all for all your thoughtful comments.